Thank you all for joining today's webinar on the Massachusetts Homeless Youth Handbook. We're going to go over this resource that is meant for all young people, people who work with them, to help guide them through various legal situations and know their rights, understand their rights better.
Yeah, thank you all for joining again. My name is Xiomara Alfaro Martinez, and I'm the Massachusetts Appleseed's Director of Partnerships and Engagement, here with Nadia Romanazzi, our Director of Legal Education and Policy, and we will go ahead and move on to the next slide.
Thank you. At Mass Appleseed, we use research, policy, and community education to address various issues, including access to justice, with a particular focus on language access, education justice, and youth homelessness, where we do work to dismantle the barriers young people face to accessing their rights and necessary resources. Today, we'll be going over first, brief background into the issue of youth homelessness by providing some data on Massachusetts, then going into the handbook itself, and then also going through an overview and walkthrough of the handbook, and then finally discussing ways we're working to expand accessibility and reach of the handbook through no-cost resources. Before we jump into the handbook itself, we wanted to briefly ground you in the broader landscape and why a resource like this is needed. As many of you know, approximately 1 in 10 people ages 18 through 25 experience homelessness at some point over the course of a year. That number is even higher for certain populations, including young people aging out of the foster care system and BIPOC youth. At the same time, there's a significant gap in access to legal support. Around 50% of those eligible for civil legal aid do not actually receive it. There are many reasons for this, like time constraints, lack of access to transportation, or simply not knowing these services exist. But another important piece, especially for young people, is that they may not need or think to seek full legal representation. Instead, they may just need clear, accessible legal information to help them understand their rights, navigate a situation, or prevent something like an eviction before it escalates. So when we look at these two realities together, the high rates of youth homelessness and the gap in access to legal help, we can see a clear need for resources that meet people earlier, hopefully before a crisis point. That's where the Homeless Youth Handbook comes in, which my colleague will discuss on the next slide.
Thank you, Nadia. So the Homeless Youth Handbook is an online rights guide that was created in 2021 that covers different topics such as healthcare, education, and housing rights, amongst others. And we have been very fortunate to partner with Baker McKenzie to make this handbook possible. And to give you a little background on what Mass Appleseed is currently working on in relation to the Homeless Youth Handbook is that we are updating all 20 chapters of this legal guide. And if you know a subject matter expert who would be interested in supporting our chapter revisions, please feel free to email me at xiomara@massappleseed.org.
Based on the need we just discussed, we expected that a resource like this could fill a gap, and the 2025 data reflects that. The handbook reached a large number of users with over 2,400 viewers, with the most engagement in chapters related to housing, LGBTQ+ rights, and general rights regarding safety and stability. Young people and those who work with them are actively seeking information to navigate and prevent challenges. With that, we'll walk through the handbook and highlight the type of information this resource covers.
So the first set of topics that this handbook covers include safety and stability, housing and leases, foster care, turning 18, education, and schools. And some of the questions that are posed are presented in a question and answer format. So some of the questions that might appear on these topics are generally, is it a crime to run away in Massachusetts? So if you are a young person, the answer would be provided below this sort of question. And another type of question that could be found is, if I get picked up by the police, where can they take me? In relation to housing and leases, a question that is posed and answered in the handbook is, can a landlord make me submit to a criminal background check? Or does my lease have to be in writing? And so this is the first set of topics that is found in the handbook. And as we will discuss in the next slide, they usually all relate to some capacity, and whether information is included in one chapter can be included in the next chapter in their sort of relation. So the second type of topics that is included are issues especially that impact specific communities. So this is in relation to the chapters of LGBTQ+, dating and domestic violence, mental health and substance abuse, and then finally birth control, abortion, and pregnancy. And so some of the questions that are posed in these chapters are, what are my legal rights in the workplace if I am LGBTQ+? Or what happens if I identify as trans and transition after getting married? Including in these chapters, we also include questions that ask about specific definitions, such as what is dating violence? And is there any differences between adult relationships versus teenage relationships? So these are the types of questions that are posed that could be impacting specific communities that can be found here in the handbook itself.
These next set of chapters address topics including public benefits, identification, healthcare and medical rights, employment, and consumer and credit, and answer questions like, what are my rights when I go to the doctor's office? Can I ask that a medical assistant not come into the room during an examination with my doctor? And what questions can an employer not ask me in an initial interview? Together, these chapters help individuals understand and access essential benefits and supports that support things like their mental health and financial stability. The final group of chapters deal with interactions with the law, and like all of the other chapters, can start with answers to questions people have about definitions, like what is the difference between sex and labor trafficking, and what to do if a police officer approaches me. What types of information do I have the right to not disclose?
So now I will go ahead and walk you all through the Homeless Youth Handbook and what it actually looks like and how you can access your information on this guide. So when you first enter into the web page, you will go ahead and find um, our Homeless Youth Handbook and our partners who made this handbook possible. And right below just this, you will see Massachusetts and then our search engine button here. So if you have any questions such as, what are my rights as a tenant? And you search, you will be able to find certain information that relates to that topic. And so here, as you can see, we have a result for what can I do if my landlord refuses to make repairs to the rental unit. So clearly, this will go ahead and take you to the housing chapter, and you will be able to find information about your specific rights. So here, if there's certain questions that you have, leasing an apartment or a room, which is in relation to the question we asked, we will be able to find basic information to leases and terms. So what is a rental agreement or a lease? And if you click on the green plus button, you will be able to find information in relation to that question asked. And so there are some terms that are underlined in green or red, and these terms have definitions. So, for example, lease, a contract between parties, landlord and tenant to rent up. So, at the very top of the chapter, you will be able to find a green button that allows you to download the chapter itself into a PDF format. Once you scroll all the way back up to the front, you are able to click on the fact sheet that gives you a brief overview of the entire fact sheet into a Know Your Rights fact sheet. You are able to scroll down and find the information that you need, that is concise information. If you scroll back up, you are able to then move on to the next chapter, which if you see here on this right red arrow is the LGBTQ plus chapter. And if you would like to move backwards, you can go back to the turning 18 chapter. If you go to the menu button here, you're able to go to any of the chapters itself as well. And you can close the menu button there. You can also leave this site safely by clicking on the red X button here that says exit. It will take you straight to the original search engine in which you found the Homeless Youth Handbook. And that is the general overview of the Homeless Youth Handbook and how to navigate it online. Now we will transition back into the presentation.
This year, we're really working to continue to expand the reach, accessibility, and impact the Homeless Youth Handbook has, and we're doing this through a variety of initiatives, including Know Your Rights presentations. So in addition to giving overview presentations like the one we're doing today, which you're welcome to share with your colleagues, or we're also happy to join your group and give a presentation like it to you all. We also do Know Your Rights presentations. These are no-cost presentations that are chapter specific that cover a particular topic or chapter in the handbook. For example, a Know Your Rights presentation on housing, or on the eviction process, or on employment. Typically, they last around 1 hour, and we really make sure to tailor the information to your group. And so if your organization serves minors, we'll really focus on providing resources and rights that are specifically applicable to anyone under 18. Another example, if you particularly serve people who have been involved with or are currently involved in the foster care system, we'll make sure to include specific resources that are accessible to people in the foster care system and specific rights that people who are engaged with the Department of Children and Families have as they navigate different processes like housing or employment. For these presentations, we also bring in a subject matter expertise, an attorney, who is able to answer more specific questions and give a better overview of the topic and explanation into the nuances of the issue.
So as we wrap up this presentation, we will go ahead and finish off by giving you more information about our newly launched Justice in Action Volunteer Corps, which is a statewide initiative that was designed to strengthen community education and expand access to rights and resources across Massachusetts. And our JABC volunteers, they ensure that young people have access to clear and reliable information and are supported in navigating complex systems that affect them. And so if you are interested in getting involved, please go ahead and submit your interest through our sign-up form, and you can go ahead and scan the QR code or type in the Google form that is provided below. And that way we will follow up with you through a one-on-one conversation and share the next steps to getting involved.
So thank you all for checking out this webinar on the Homeless Youth Handbook. We hope you have a better understanding on the type of information it covers, how to use it, and how it can be helpful to young people and people who work with them. If you're interested in a Know Your Rights presentation for your organization, please reach out to me using the email on the screen, and we'll be happy to connect. Also, please continue to follow us as we'll be publishing some more Know Your Rights materials on our website, some more webinars like these that cover specific topics on the handbook, so Know Your Rights presentations. And then, as Xiomara said at the very beginning, we'll be putting out more fact sheets and updating chapters over the coming months.